Well, hey, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. We're here at the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids, another big buck night west. There's some giant deer here, Jenny. What are you thinking?
Jimmy, I can't believe it. I mean, we had great Big Buck Night East. Big Buck Night West is equally impressive, and we have a lot of ladies here tonight, too.
That's right. It's going to be a big night, and we're happy to have everybody here. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger.
And I'm Jenny Olson, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, offering a variety of meat products. Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 on M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen. By Meijer, a destination for hunting, fishing, and camping. From bug spray and tents to GPS and gas, Meijer has nearly everything you need to take on nature and get you there. Meijer. By Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com.
We all have one. That perfect spot, a special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Okay, our first deer of the night is Phyllis Rickabus. This is a 9-point shot with a shotgun, scored 122 inches. This is Phyllis's very first deer, first buck. Can we get a round of applause for that? I tell you what. This was shot in Lapeer County. Okay, Phyllis, tell us a little bit about how long have you been hunting and what happened on this hunt?
Well, I've been hunting sort of casually. The guys go up north where the big bucks are, you know, and to deer camp every year. And I've just been hunting down on private property down near home. Okay. And I was on my son's land, my stepson's land, and all alone. And I just kind of wandered into the blind about 7:15 in the morning, opening day. And at 7:30, I looked up, and there stood this buck. And at 7:31, he was on the ground. So, and I took a picture of it and sent it to my son, who was up in a deer blind way up north, and said, "My hands are shaking. I just shot a buck." And they kind of went crazy up there, because it happens to be a bigger buck than any of the guys have ever gotten going up north to deer camp.
Very nice.
Well, I was sitting out in an open cornfield, and I saw him coming across from about a quarter mile away out of a cut cornfield where they were just cutting it, and he just came running right across. So I tried to cut him off, so I hopped up and I just started running right across open field. And
All right, hold on one second. You started your hunt by sitting in an open cut cornfield, is that right? Okay, is that normal?
it is not at all. I actually saw him earlier in the day, so I just thought I'm just going to go all in for this deer. So, yep.
So what happened then? So you're running full tilt after him now.
And I finally cut him off, so I got out in front of him, and he was he was a long ways out in the cornfield. So I grabbed my grunt call and grunted at him, grunted 3 times, and he came running right in at me. And I could hear him grunting. He was about 15 yards away, open cornfield. I was down in chisel plowed field, just on my knees, and I pulled my bow back, and he saw me when I pulled it back. So we had a standoff for a long time.
Were you at full draw for the standoff?
I was. So eventually I had to let down because he was quartering at me, and I let down, and he saw me, and he ran. Called him back in, all that kind of stuff. And finally, he was about, actually 39 yards. I pulled back. I've never shot that far before. I just thought, I just have to take a shot at this deer. Perfect broadside shot. Pulled it back, let the arrow fly. I thought I missed him big because how long the arrow was in the air, and all of a sudden, whack, I heard it hit, and I just stood right up. Yes, I was just amazed I hit the deer.
Okay, our next hunter is Abby Arndt. This was shot in Bay County. Scores 140 and 4/8 inch. Was shot with a rifle. Abby, how many deer have you shot?
This is my first deer.
First deer. Okay, we got a lot of those tonight. So tell me, over the Bay County, what happened on this? Was this the youth hunt, or when was this?
Yeah, this was the opening day of youth hunt. I went out early in the morning with my brother and then didn't see anything and came back later in the day with my dad, and that's when I got him. And I had originally had my sights on a 6-point, but there was a doe that kept on walking in front of it, and I didn't want to take a shot at the doe because when I had a buck out there already. So I was trying to get a shot on him, and then this one walked out, and my dad looked at me and said, "Take the other one, it's open, and I think it's bigger." And so I was like, all right, yeah, might as well. And so
So who was more excited at this point, you or Dad?
my dad, because he knew what it was, and I thought it was just a 6 or an 8.
Was he going crazy, or was he kind of keeping it under control?
He was trying to keep it cool. So I got my sights on him and took a breath in, shot, and I thought I missed him because he didn't do anything. He just stood there, and then he wobbled 15 yards and dropped.
All right, well, the bucks just keep getting bigger and bigger, and we have 81-year-old Maynard Vanderstel here. This 12-point, he shot in Kent County, across the street from his house. He says he has permission to hunt there. It scores 142 inches, shot it with a crossbow. Maynard, is this your biggest buck ever?
Yes, it is. Out of about 30 of them I have gotten over the years. It's the biggest one I've seen bigger ones, but this is the biggest one. I also got this deer in my on my camera, field camera.
Oh, you saw it on your trail camera first.
Twice,
So,
yeah.
yeah, tell me the setup. What kind of land were you hunting on, and how did it all happen?
It's pretty thick, and I had a 6-point come in first, and so I was getting ready to shoot that because it was already in November. I thought, well, if I don't get him, I probably won't get another one chance. But I was getting ready to shoot that one, and then right over his back, I saw some horns. And I saw these, and I thought, hey, I better wait. And he came right in and chased that other buck away, and I had a perfect shot at him, and he went about 100 yards and dropped dead.
Joe, is this your first deer?
No, I got a 6-point the year before.
Wow, so you're doing pretty good. So tell me what happened. Was this on the youth hunt?
Yeah, the opening day of the youth hunt.
And tell me what happened.
Well, when we first got out of the house, it was kind of rainy, so we walked through there about maybe a mile to our stick-built blind elevated with carpet and stuff. Wow. And we got in there, and maybe around 8:30, a few does came out, and then on his side, the big marshy area, there were the 3 does. And then this little run by the corn, I think a little doe came out. And then maybe a minute after that, this one came out.
Did you see him pretty good?
Yeah, my dad had reached down to get a snack bar for me. And then he said, shoot her buck, shoot her buck. So I'm like, I got my gun, and we slowly edged it out the plastic window so I could see through the scope. And I just looked at his head quickly, and I'm like, it looks pretty big, so that's a good sign. And then I just aimed for the boiler room or internals, whatever you call them. Yep. And then I just easily pulled the trigger. And I thought he ran into the corn because I didn't look, but he actually ran into the forest. And then we tracked him for about maybe an hour till up 9:30, and he was in some really deep brush, so we gutted him over a hillside. so it fell down. And then we had to drag him out on a jet sled. And then about halfway there, because the corn was still up and it was really tall, halfway there, my mom and sister came from Myers, and then they helped him drag the deer out with the jet sled.
When I took off from home, I went up to the farm, talked to my cousin about some stuff. When I went to leave, I had to go to work. I'm like, well, I got an hour and a half. Why not drive out to my blind? So I was on my way out to my blind. And on the way out there, I got about halfway, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I driving so fast across the field right now? So I slowed it down, and I got next half of the way because I'm a half mile deep. And I look, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That morning, my cousin seen him walk across the field, never thought to go back after him. Well, there he laid with a doe in the fence row, so I just kept right on driving right out to my blind. Got there, got out, and now I'm debating, do I get my shotgun, load it up quick, do I grab my handgun? So here the handgun is in my hand, and I'm going back to him. I get back within 50 yards, and the doe took off running. I'm like, oh no, this can't be happening. So I took off running. I got back within about 17 yards, and the buck took off, and he come right out, right straight away from me. I pulled up, shot, hit him right in the back of the neck, and he front flipped through the air. And I'm thinking, oh yes, I got him. And then his back leg started going. He started pushing himself across the field. So then I had to take off, get across the field to beat him there. And then I got over there. I got another shot on him. He flips over. I'm like, okay, he's dead. I get within about 3 yards of him. He actually come off the ground and tried to attack me, so I shot him another 5, 6 more times. So at this point, I've got 7, 8 bullets in it. I'm like, okay, and I start screaming at the top of my lungs. It's the biggest buck I've ever shot, biggest one I've ever had close enough to shoot.
I mean, we went down to Coldwater Branch County, me and my buddy Cam. He asked me if he could go hunt with me. I said, yeah, sure. I'm sitting in a ground blind. Take my crossbow. You might as well go. So we went down there. It was Thursday night. Showed up.
This is during the regular bow season?
Yeah. Woke up Friday morning. Went out hunting. It was like, probably 40 degrees out. I said, I don't know if there's anything moving in the woods today, but, got lucky 9:30. Came walking out of the brush, and my best friend was like, hey, that's a shooter. You might want to get ready. So I got my crossbow up out the window.
Now, were you like sleeping at the moment, or did you not see him coming? Or?
Yeah, I was on the other side of the blind. He was 40 yards, and our blinds are 20 foot tall, so he was close for the most part. So I put my crossbow out the window and let an arrow fly. He was 42 yards away and shot him right through the heart and didn't run far, probably 22 yards. He ran and dropped down, and it was 9:30 a.m. and we waited all the way until dark, let him lay there, sit all day. Got out at dark and walked over to him. Yeah, he was stiff. He was dead. That's for sure.
Yep, he was dead. Yep. That's always a good thing.
That's for sure.
So was it hard? I mean, if he was that close and you saw him run off and tip over, could you see him pretty good from the blind?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't see him. I mean, I couldn't see his whole body or nothing, but you could see him laying there. But our rules are you wake up, you go out, and you sit all day. You don't move, so.
Well, my ma seen him the night before, and she goes, oh, I seen a big deer. I go, how big? She said big, so I figured, well, maybe I'll get up in the morning and go look for him. Walked out in my backyard, and he come running out of the orchard, and I had to shoot him.
All right, so you were walking out into the backyard during legal shooting light already?
Yeah, I had to help get the kids around in the morning, so I wasn't out as early as I wanted to, and then so I shot him, seen a herd of does that were bedded below my house go flying. I'm like, well, all I seen was the side of the rack running away, and I hoped I got him.
So is this the buck that your mom saw, you think?
She claims it is, but I don't know.
We got to give her some credit for that. Okay, so you think you got him. You see all the does take off. So then what happened?
Well, then I looked, and I didn't see any blood, so I started getting nervous. And then my gun kind of jammed, so I ran to the house and got my other gun. In case I gut shot him, I wanted to have more shots than 3. So I went running and grabbed my 12 gauge and then went walking. I was seeing a couple spots of blood on the ground. A couple more. My head was glued to the ground like this, and finally I looked up after 50 yards and he was laying there.
So before we get to the little deer over there, yeah, real little, let's start with the 166. What happened on this hunt?
Well, it was on a Sunday afternoon, and I was laying around in the house because I didn't feel good. So I called my husband, and I told him I was going to go out and sit in the stand. And I got up and got ready, and I still didn't feel good, so I thought I'd take the closer stand, which was a tower. We have a business. a motocross track and then a house in the back. So I went up in the tower, and I haven't been up there for 10 years, since 2005. Wow. So I got up there and opened my windows and stuff and was sitting there, and I heard a dirt bike. And my son was riding his kids on the dirt bike around the track, and I'm thinking, oh my God. So I quick called my husband and said,
Now, how far is that from where you're actually sitting?
right below us.
Oh, right, like right there.
The tower's in the middle of the track.
Okay.
So I text my husband, and I said, get Jeremy off the track. I'm hunting up in the tower, because he didn't know. He thought I was going on a tree stand. So he gets off the track, and I'm sitting there. About 10 minutes later, 3 doe come from behind me, come up in front, and nibbled around and laid down right below the tower. Then a few more minutes, 3 more came through from behind me, doe. Stood around in front. So I'm watching them, and all of a sudden, I noticed that the 3 got up, and all 6 of them turned to my left, and they were looking, their ears were leaning forward. And I thought my neighbor was walking up and down the driveway, and so I just glanced over there, and he was standing on top of one of the jumps. Wow. The dirt bike jumps, and I thought, oh my God, I could not believe it. So I'm sitting down, my legs, everything starts shaking. And he come down the side of the jump to a little pine tree and started rubbing his rack and kicking dirt around. And I could have taken the shot then. It was about 20 yards, but I was shaking too bad, so, which I am now. So anyways, I watched him, and he started forward, and he made a left or a right turn.
So he's following the track, is he?
Yeah, okay. And those doe were right in front of me. And so I brought my crossbow up and got the scope in front of my face. And as he got in front of me, I grunted, and I shot. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. I went out, opening day of gun, got up in my tree stand. It was dark, and I heard something to the left of me. And it was about 15 minutes of listening to him. And then it quieted down. And about an hour and a half later, I heard something. I looked over, and I just saw a big body standing there. And so I thought, man, that's a big doe. So I brought my gun up, getting ready, and because I couldn't see the head. And when he come out, I thought, oh my God, another big deer. And I didn't know whether to call my husband. He was in another tree stand. I thought, no. So I hunt over scrapes, mock scrapes, and he scented the scent that I had thrown out there that morning. So anyways, he come across, but he started to angle out away from the scrape, which was really far. And I grunted, and he didn't hear me. I thought, oh, crap. So I grunted again real loud, and he stopped, and that's when I shot. And that was about a 90-yard shot.
I saw the doe run off at this point, and I realized he's coming out of the woods, so he's coming into the field. So I put my phone away real quick, and he came out. He looked up at me, and then I stayed frozen for a minute, and then he looked away to his right, quartered away from me a little bit, and I took the shot. I saw it hit. I thought it was pretty good because he kind of like bucked a little bit and then turned around real quick and ran right back into the woods where he came out of, tail tucked. So I texted my husband, and I said, well, we're going to meet, but we're not going to go to breakfast. We're going to go track a buck. So we met at home, and then we came back out. A friend went out there with us to track him, and we found the bolt in the woods right in the field line, right where he had ran back in at. It was broken. So I knew it was pretty good. We had a good trail. We followed it about 60 yards into the woods, and we had come across another hunter, and he had actually found this buck before us, and he actually tagged it and was already field dressing it. Yeah, so we had a nice conversation in the woods, and our stories weren't the same, but we quickly realized he wasn't going to favor our side of it. So we backed out of the woods, and we left the property. And I actually called the poaching hotline just to give them the story to see if there's anything that could be done. And they actually sent 2 DNR officers came out and a sergeant. And they listened to both of our stories and followed the trail. And based on the evidence that they had, they decided that it was really my buck and recovered it for me.
Wow, well, that's great. It kind of puts a little damper on your first buck ever, but that's a good ending to the story. So did you know, now you got him on video, you saw the doe looking back at him, and then you first see him. Did you guys know you had deer like this out there on your property?
My husband did. He had seen this buck 3 times, but he never came in close enough for him.
Yeah, so November 1st, it was a morning hunt, and 7:50, a real nice 8-point actually came in out in front of me that I had seen a few times earlier in the season, and I actually went full draw on him, and he just skirted me, never came in to one of my lanes, and I actually watched him walk off down a fence row. So I let the bow down. I'm just standing there, and he actually ended up coming in behind me, and he got through one of my lanes before I could actually get turned around to draw on him. And so him and I had a little bit of a showdown, grunting at him a few times. He'd circle a little bit, but just never would come in close enough. And so eventually he walked off, and so I turned back around, sat down, and was pretty.
You're thinking the hunt's over.
Exactly. That's the nicest buck I had seen out there all year. So I'm sitting there for about 15 minutes, and I'm actually looking the opposite direction that he came in at, and heard a little bit of movement, so I turned my head, and he was already out of the cornfield and into the woods about 10 yards from me, and actually walked right in front of me about 10 yards, but I didn't dare stand up to draw. So I let him get past me, and he got about 25 yards out, and I stood up and I drew, and I tried to grunt at him, and he wouldn't stop, so I just let the arrow fly, and he dropped right there. So my first reaction was, oh yeah, I got him. And then he picked his head up. And so I quick grabbed another arrow and decided to shoot at him again from the tree, and I hit him in the shoulder. So I only had 2 arrows with me that morning, so I figured he was hurt pretty bad, so I got down, walked up to him, and he picked his head up again. Now I have no arrows, and this thing is, standing right or laying right in front of me, so I'm like frantically looking around thinking, what am I going to do with this thing? There's no way I'm walking up to him. So the first shot actually hit him in the spine, and it actually had broke off, and the arrow was laying on the ground right there.
The whole arrow?
Minus the broadhead. Okay. So I picked it up, and thankfully it was long enough that I could re-knock it, and actually shot him.
With no broadhead?
With no broadhead.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
You do what you have to do, right? But he was not going to get away, so that was the end of it.
About 8 o'clock in the morning, got my binos up, and I seen this deer here chasing a doe at 75 yards. It was an absolute crisp, clean, perfect deer hunting morning, and the sun was shining down on this massive rack with that mass and palmation and points, and I dropped my binos to the ground and got my crossbow out, and the doe actually was chasing a doe, obviously, and ran off to my right-hand side, which was the worst part of my tree stand because it was thick with brush. I had this deer standing broadside at 25 yards with the doe out 30. All I could see is this, and I couldn't get a shot at it. But it gave me time to calm down. And the doe spotted me in the tree eventually, which is typically what happens, ran off, and I thought, this will be a great deer story that I can tell my friends. I saw the biggest buck in my life and never got a shot at it. Well, surprisingly, the buck went to where the doe was standing, and it had 3 different openings, about maybe 2 feet in diameter. It stopped at the last one, got a good shot at 30 yards, arrowed it, thought I made a good shot on it, waited about 30 minutes, went down, got my arrow full of blood, trailed it. I double lunged the deer, but it still ran 150 yards, which was amazing. And when I walked up on the deer, it measures 28 inches from here to here. You can imagine what that looked like on the ground, like that, facing it from that angle. So it was pretty exciting, and when I looked over, about 40 yards away, I saw 4 does standing there. So this buck obviously had 4 does he was servicing in that particular area.
That is absolutely amazing. So you went back with the scouting report after that, right?
We actually did not hunt that property the rest of the year. We went back to the other one, actually.
Okay. You were telling me off stage that you do have some trail camera pictures that other people have given you with this buck on it, right?
That is correct. I have a very nice, good, very clear trail cam picture of this particular, which really looks nice on film. And I found out later that there was many, many guys in that particular area hunting this deer seriously for 2 years, and I didn't know it existed. So that's the truth of the story.
That's an amazing story. First time you see him and you were able to drop him. Congratulations, Mike.
Thanks to everyone that made Big Buck Night West and Big Buck Night East such a big success. Thanks to Showspan for hosting. Thanks to Vanguard for making it all possible. And hey, who knows? Maybe next year, if you shoot a big deer, we'll see you on one of the big stages.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By Vanguard, a global manufacturer based in Michigan featuring rifle scopes, binoculars, and spotting scopes with lifetime warranties. Vanguard supplies sporting optics and accessories for the outdoor enthusiast online at vanguardworld.com. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore with its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses. Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. Closed captioning is provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above,